In this Picmonic, we will learn about counterstrain posterior rib tender points, with the story of the counterstrainer with posterior ribs and tenderizer point as he and company prepare for the rib cookout. Posterior tender points are associated with elevated ribs or inhalation dysfunction, shown as inflated ribs. Elevated ribs, also known as inhalation dysfunctions, can be caused by hyperventilation, injury, or certain medical conditions such as obstructive lung diseases. The most superior posterior tender point is rib 1 centimeter lateral to the costa transverse articulation, seen in this Picmonic as the first rib with a 1 wand and 1 wand sent on a ladder to the Costco train. This spot is also called the articulation at the manubrium and can present bilaterally. The rest of the posterior rib tender points are rib 2 through 10, the angle of the corresponding rib, depicted here as ribs 222 to 1010, angle of the corresponding rib with the ballerina. Notice that she is leaning over. This is because these points are palpated with the patient sitting or lying prone. The rest of this Picmonic is devoted to the treatment of these points. The first one we will tackle is rib 1, ESART, represented by the 1 wand and ES art. The tender point at rib 1 is addressed by putting the spine into extension, side bending away, and rotating towards the tender point. The position of ease in counterstrain is accomplished in the rest of the ribs with rib 2 through 10, Sarah, seen here as rib 222 to 1010, Sarah Jessica Parker. Ribs 2 through 10 are treated similarly, establishing the position of ease by side bending and rotating the spine away from the tender point. In summary, posterior rib tender points are related to elevated ribs, also known as inhalation dysfunctions. The tender points are present on both sides. The tender point for rib 1 is 1 centimeter lateral to the costa transverse articulation. The rest of the tender points, ribs 2 through 10, are located at the angle of the associated rib. The tender point for rib 1 is treated with counterstrain by putting the patient in extension, side bending away, and rotating toward the tender point. The tender points for ribs 2 through 10 can be put into ease by side bending and rotating away from the tender point.
It was barbecue time in the park. All that meat made this post-terrier bark because he saw the ribs on the counter, right there by the strainer and the tenderizer point. He tried to steal some of those tasty ribs for himself, but the ribs suddenly inflated. They floated higher and higher, and someone had to get them down. So, a savior came by and got the first rib down by hitting it with a 1 wand. He had to climb up on a Costco train that happened to be passing by. He got another 1 wand and a cent for his troubles. But then, the rest of the ribs started tumbling down. Who would catch them? Well, it was this ballerina who had been practicing in the park. She took off her tutu and placed it on a 10-tin to soften the landing for the ribs. Luckily, she was located at just the angle of the corresponding ribs, so she made the catch flawlessly, with all the grace of a ballerina.
For the rest of the story, check out Picmonic.com and sign up for a free account. There, you can also take Picmonic's quiz. The quiz automatically sets up your daily quiz by using spaced repetition algorithms based on the questions you've missed or struggled with to make sure you study what you need when you need to. Check out the rest of our treatment modalities Picmonics. We've got all the content you'll need to remember. Everything from muscle energy, counterstrain overview, high velocity, low amplitude thrust, or HVLA, myofascial release and soft tissue, Zinc's common compensatory pattern, and so much more, so you can lock down on everything you need to know forever. Play, quiz, and spaced repetition. Efficient, effective, and research proven to increase exam scores.